What's up, everyone? My name is Matt Topper, here with my co-host Vicky Bruns, and welcome back to the IT Nation Wise Up podcast. So our guest today is someone that I would call a channel celebrity, concert lover, Cowboys fan, bracelet maker, and most importantly, current director of channel development at INFIMA. Welcome to Kelcye Blankenship-Lackland. We already got the hard part because I pronounced your name properly.
Great job.
Thank you.
That was quite the intro, Kelcye.
I know. I'm honored.
Well, you're a fan of an NFC team, so I was okay with saying that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, well, we appreciate having you on the show. And for our listeners tuning in, we want to hear a little bit more about your background. We know the Kelcye that is in front of us now, but can you give us kind of some context to your origin story? How did you end up here?
Yeah, my lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I went to the University of Texas at Dallas for college, and while I was there, I got an internship at an advertising agency through one of my friend's moms. Made all of my first professional connections there. I loved that place. It was on the 30th floor in downtown Dallas, so it was just overlooking beautiful. I mean, amazing. Such a fun time. It was definitely the company that you think of whenever you're like, I'm going to go work in downtown. I greatly enjoyed it. They had these big egg chairs. It was crazy.
Oh, that's cool. Any sleeping pods or anything like that?
I definitely did accidentally sleep in one once. But while I was there, I made a lot of really good connections. And one of those was Therese Leach. And a few years later down the line, I'd graduated. I had my first job out of college. Therese reached out to me and said, hey, I'm hiring for this position. Just kind of thought of you. And that is what brought me to Citricom, which was my first job in this space. It is local for me. So I did that for a little over a year and then popped on over to QuickPass Cyber QP with Jimmy Hassel. And did that for a little over 2 years. And now I am here at INFIMA. So it's been definitely very much so it's not what you know, it's who you know. But also, it is what I know. So I can't discount myself.
Never discount yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of learn it as you go along, right?
Yeah. So that's how I got my start. Once I was introduced, I loved it. And I was like, this is definitely a place for me to stick around. So.
Yeah, well, I'm rocking my INFIMA hat for those who are listening and not actually watching us on screen. It says "Not Today, Hacker," which is a really, really cool slogan for INFIMA. And I'd say their branding's pretty spot on.
Yeah, it's really funny to see people's reactions to those hats. And even just last week, I had our first batch of stickers that say that made, and people were so excited. So it's fun. Yep. I started my sophomore year of high school, and I actually only quit when I started traveling for work because I was like, I just can't make both of these work anymore. But there are so many ways that it translates, managing your schedule. I made the schedule for the employees to come in, obviously customer service, handling problems, all of that. It definitely translates way more than you'd think, but I miss it all the time, truthfully. I can make whatever smoothies I wanted any hour of the day, always had a nice little sweet treat. I am a sweet treat kind of gal.
Oh, same.
Always need something.
I know. It's so hard. Matt, you run every morning. So I feel like even if you ate something, you'd be burning it off first thing at 6 a.m.
So yes and no. I do like sweet stuff, but I'm so careful about eating that it's a really rare thing for me to have anything like that. Usually really watching macros and calorie counting and all that fun kind of stuff.
I'll eat it for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll that for you.
So Kelcye, I intentionally used the word or phrase channel celebrity, and I think it's interesting or pretty impressive to watch. You've really only been in the space for not that long, and it's impressive how quickly you become famous or become well known. So Vicky and I get asked all the time. Why anyone asks me, I have no idea, about building their own personal brand. So this is the soapbox. Like, what advice would you give to someone starting out looking to establish themselves in this industry? Right? How did you do it?
Yeah, well, I'll start by getting on my soapbox and saying, stop tearing yourself down like that. People ask you because they see you in that way. Truthfully, I fell into it by accident. I talked about this a few weeks ago with Dylan Hutchinson. I did not have social media as a child, did not have computer access, phone access, any of that. So I came into this in adulthood, and I think for me, it still feels very much so like a little like treat that I get to do. Like, ooh, I haven't always got to do this. So I kind of just, I treat social media like, I know a lot of people say like, oh, it's so much extra work. Like, I never remember to do it. I just treat it as it's part of my day. I need to share something, this will be perfect for me to talk about later. And it comes very naturally to me. I kind of always picture that I'm talking to like my aunt or my grandma, like I'm telling them about my day and like, here's what I did today, and it seems really silly to break it down that way. But when you kind of look at it, it's like, yes, I do it for the Facebook aunties. Just sharing truthfully whatever's happening has seemed to be very well received in the industry, because people like seeing themselves in other people and knowing that other people are going through the same things that they are. People just seem to really take well to seeing whatever it is you have to say. I know there are sometimes I have definitely run into people who have said, oh, you post too much. Like, you need to tone it down. And okay, sorry. There are plenty of other people who have said, you're always at the top of my LinkedIn. I had to come over and say hi to you and formally introduce myself to you. Like, I love what you're doing. So, it's not perfect. It's not for everybody, but I'm having fun and I'm not hurting anyone with it. So I think social media has really, really helped. Also, just being present at in-person events. It's very easy to, kind of tuck away and not really want to go be around everybody, especially at the end of the day. I try to give myself like okay, I'll go for an hour and then I'll go home, like go to bed, whatever. But making sure just being present and being visible definitely seems to help as well.
That's so interesting.
So I think you just mentioned one thing, Vicky. I think you just mentioned, Kelsey, something that is easy for us to forget, and that is that things you post on social media don't need to be these big, profound philosophical statements that change the world. You can just talk about what you're doing during the day and relate to that, right? It doesn't need to be something big.
I was going to say that I think that's a great point. The other thing is, I wonder if sometimes if it's a generational gap too. I think that for people that have grown up with technology at their fingertips, maybe it seems like this is a way that I express myself. And I know sometimes even within ConnectWise, right? I'll throw our people under the bus. I'm just kidding. I won't name names, but I get that a lot too, Kelcye, where they say, hey, I saw all your videos. Like, you're always at the top of my newsfeed because you're posting all these videos. But this is a way to get awareness for the platform that you're trying to promote out there. Yeah. And if you're at the top of people's news feeds, then you're doing your job.
Totally.
Because like you mentioned, the way that you got into the channel is you knew somebody who was already in the channel. And so social media is like an extension of you and the people that you can reach, right?
Yeah, especially for people who aren't on the road as often, it's great for you to be able to stay top of mind, to be relevant. Somebody may have met you once and not really remember you, but if you're posting on LinkedIn, more often you're really driving home. They've met you. Okay, you like the Cowboys. Matt likes the Jets. And you kind of just start to form, I guess in a little bit of a way, it's a parasocial relationship. I don't want to call it you're forming a friendship until like you really are. I've had people come up to me that I've never met who have said, oh, I've seen all your stuff online. Like, so great to finally meet you in person. Let's get a picture together. And I actually, it was IT Nation Secure 2 years ago. I remember the first time it happened, I was shocked. I turned around and I looked at Jimmy and I was like, I don't understand what just happened to me. And he was like, get used to it. Now I am used to it. It happens all the time. And I'm happy to make those connections in person, take them offline and into the real world. But it's just keeping you in people's minds. You're in their face. You're on their radar.
That's really cool. I have a question about some of the other stuff that you do. So you're doing a lot of social promotions. You're out there in the channel. You're going to a lot of the events, but you have I wouldn't call it a side project, but because it is kind of a part of what you do as well. But you've got a podcast that you run with your friend Morgan, right?
Yes. I call it my passion project. So I do have the podcast, and that is a lot of fun. And that kind of actually was born from something else Morgan and I did together. When she was with Gradient MSP, we did a monthly webinar series together called New Kids on the Flock. It was us, Taylor Thorson, and Chandler Sabin. So there were 4 of us from various vendors. They were all early 20s. I was late 20s. I'm a little bit older than them. And we just talked about, we had a monthly cadence where we talked about what our experience in the industry has been, encouraging others who are newer to be like, here's some really good people for you to talk to. We had guests on. It was a lot of fun, but I think people don't watch webinars as much as we like to think that they do. And so we didn't have a super big audience. And after Morgan left Gradient, literally the day it was announced, people started reaching out to me being like, y'all are still going to do that, right? Like, you're still going to do that, which I was sitting here like, I know for a fact you've never watched anything we've put out because I can see who's watching. But it was very sweet of them, and we did continue it. That's how the podcast was born. We agreed people aren't watching webinars as much as we'd like them to, meeting people where they are and providing something that they can just listen to at any time of day. Seemed to resonate really well. And because it was just 2 of us as opposed to all of us, and Gradient was kind of vetting everything that we did. Like, it kind of we'd present what we wanted and then they would tweak it how they wanted. So we very much so had to maintain whatever image it was that they wanted to portray. So the freedom for us to be able to take it on our own and do and say whatever we want to do or say has been really fun. For sure.
A great artistic outlet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's definitely not always easy, but we have a good time with it. I recently got new stickers made.
Ooh,
man,
Vicky, we need stickers.
I know. I want sparkles like Kelcye has.
Sticker mule. Not an ad, but
great.
I have really enjoyed that part of having a podcast, is making stuff. But the content itself, even like the production and learning all of that, has been really interesting. I know we were talking before we started recording of how y'all pretty well understand the process that I also am experiencing, learning the editing and the publication of it all. It's a really cool lesson.
It's kind of like when actors and actresses they want to try to expand kind of what they do, and so then you see them becoming producers or writers or creators. It's like it gives you kind of that 360-degree perspective of like all the nuts and bolts of building something like this. And I'm sure you've probably had the same revelations Matt and I have of, okay, are we doing okay? It's just
right.
People are tuning in.
Yeah.
The recording's the easy part.
Definitely. When I was in college, my senior project, actually, I did a makeup YouTube channel. I'm very into makeup. I worked as a makeup artist for a couple years. I loved it. I still do. I just don't do it as often. But my capstone paper, I wrote about the behind the scenes of creating digital media. The stuff that nobody sees, what's expected of influencers, anything like that. And I won People's Choice Project. So That's
very cool.
yes, but it's definitely something that like I feel deserves to be highlighted because people just don't realize how much goes into creating content.
Yeah, or the value that you can get out of it yourself, and learning a new trade. And it's interesting because I'm sure you both have seen this. I feel like there are even MSPs that are coming out with like their own podcasts now, which I think is really cool to see. It'd be really neat to see if they could keep building on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool. I think the challenge with that is going to be maintaining authenticity, as opposed to it being, hey, come do business with us because we're awesome, and providing some real actual value behind it. Like with MSPs, it's so tempting for it to be some kind of, hey, here's a problem, and by the way, if you hire us, all your problems can be solved, and that just turns your listeners off immediately. I know we're interviewing Kelcye, but I just can't help but interject with that.
No, it's okay. Well, Bob Coppage, I think, does a great job of that from Simplex IT. I was a guest on one of his on his podcast last year, and it was interesting because you always want to know who is the audience that I'm trying to reach, so that way you can customize your message based on who you're trying to reach. And his audience is small to medium-sized businesses in Ohio. It's not even focused on the channel. He has people that are in the channel that come and join him, but they're talking about things that could be relevant to any small business out there, specifically in Ohio, obviously. But he brings these interesting stories, kind of like what you do, Kelcye, right? And what we're trying to do with IT Nation Wise Up as well, is that there are a lot of stories that are transcendental, that you can kind of take across different verticals, and that's kind of the essence I think he's trying to capture. But do you mind if we circle back real quick to the question that you got, what was it, 2 years ago at IT Nation Secure, when you showed up and somebody said, I've seen you, but I haven't met you yet. It's so nice to meet you. Have you gotten, I guess, questions from the channel of kind of what we were talking about at the beginning? You're a channel celebrity. I don't know if you feel like that internally, that you're a channel celebrity. But that is, there's a lot of visibility. There's a lot of great things that you're doing. Do you get people coming to you asking you the same thing? Like, how do you build up that platform? How do you get past the imposter syndrome to the point where you too can become your own?
Yeah, I'd say on the, like, if I don't feel like it, I don't think that I do, just because this is the only reality I've ever lived in, like this is just my experience. So this is what it's like for me. I don't know that I necessarily see myself as a celebrity. I do like the term LinkedIn influencer though.
Nice.
That's just a fun one.
I like that one too. I'm going to use that.
I've never heard that one.
I use it as a hashtag, like on my own silly stuff all the time. My friends definitely think it's hilarious. Like my friends outside of the channel, like they, see my stuff and they're like, okay, girl boss, I think that kind of helps keep me like, this is
humble.
Yes, it is silly. But yeah, no, there are definitely people who have said, oh, I don't even know how to start being something like that. And I think like Matt said, like, keeping the authenticity is super important. One, because you can't keep up a facade as many hours of a day as you'd have to become known and well liked. People like you for who you are. People also can sniff out fake. Like people don't like that. People don't like feeling like they're being slimy sold to. And it's definitely, I attended a fireside chat from Rob Ray a few years ago, and it's not earth shattering, but it definitely did kind of illuminate something for me, which was people buy from people that they like. So if you can just be yourself and be likable, the rest happens very naturally. It's not as difficult and all consuming as you may think it should be.
So we talked about the authenticity and about building a personal brand. How do you find the right balance in right? There's obviously going to be some promotion of whoever you're working for and some plugging and things like that, combined with personal branding and your own story. How do you know how hard to hit the brand plugging, the personal versus your employer?
Yeah, I'd say that, I mean, I'm trying to think back to like what I've done previously. I think it becomes a very natural balance in that you don't want to talk about work all the time, just realistically. Maybe some people do, and I applaud you. But I mean, I'm thinking the balance is maybe, I don't know, I want to say like 70% work, 30% personal, but I have no reason for picking those numbers other than I think. Um, I truthfully, I like to think of it as kind of time of day, whatever's happening, like, oh, this is work related. Great. I'm going to talk about it in this work sphere. This is happening on a weekend, this is maybe a little bit more personal, or if it's later at night. I also definitely think that you don't need to tie work into as many things as you feel like you may have to. I definitely started that way when I was first sharing more, and it's really cheesy to go back and look on. I follow this Twitter account. It's, oh gosh, why can't I remember it now? I don't remember the name, but they do Made Up Kid Monday, where they post screenshots of people talking about their made up kids. My son, who's 3, asked what it's like to be an entrepreneur, whatever, like obviously very stuff. It's very funny. And, nobody wants to be that. They don't want to read it. They don't want to see it. And also in this digital world, it is so easy for people to just mute you or unfollow you. And then once you do that, you've lost that audience entirely. I will say from experience, it's very easy to forget that someone that you have muted exists. Not in like a negative way, but oh my gosh, I haven't heard from them in a while. And then you go through and you're like, oh, I muted you once. Oops. Sorry. Hope you've been well. I do think that at this point now in my life, it comes very naturally, the balance between sharing whatever's happening personally. If I'm doing a happy hour with local vendors and MSPs, it's a little bit of work, but I'm not going to talk about work for this. I'm just sharing that I'm with these people. Because I think the community aspect of it, I don't even see that as work. That is just, these people have become friends, and I'm doing things with them. I think we were talking about this, Vicky, when you were talking about weddings during the breakout session at IT Nation Secure. I don't think I put this part in, but I have got to the point where I'm like, I can't invite half the channel to my wedding someday. But there are so many people that I've met in this industry that have become very close friends. Where I'm like I flat out, I told Morgan, I was like, I will be offended if you don't invite me to your wedding eventually. It's like, how many, I think I'm going to have a channel wedding someday, just a separate one for all my channel people, because that's just how much the community has infiltrated my heart.
Yeah. Well, I think you made a good point about being authentic, and you got to get your hits in too. I know we were talking about football, so I'm going to talk about baseball and RBIs. Runs batted in. You don't become like the best freaking batter of all time if you don't get out there and strike out, right? Yes. And so I think that's the point, is that you have to get your hits in, and it may not be right the first time, maybe not even the second time, maybe not even the 10th time.
Yeah. Well, and then in that same note, I do think that as you're building your network and your community, people also understand you do have a job to do. They will also listen to you. Again, if they like you, they're going to give you a little bit more grace, and they're going to potentially listen to a little bit more of your pitch or whatever it is that you have. They're more likely to come by your booth and then start talking to someone else at your booth who maybe can push it a little harder. I don't think there's a perfect balance, but I do think it starts to come very naturally.
That's good advice. So what about, I want to talk about women in the channel. Okay, so you got your start in the channel in your mid-20s.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. What advice would you give to young women coming out of college?
I actually have had this real life experience when I was with QP. A lot of the girls that joined our team were younger than I just turned 30 last year. So I'm 30. And a lot of the girls that were joining were pretty fresh out of college. And I have 7 younger siblings, 5 younger sisters, 2 younger brothers. So I very much so have the big sister in me, where they joined it and I sat them down and I was just like, look, this can be a really good space for you, but you have to play it properly. I told them flat out, I was like, you don't have to accept anyone that you don't want to accept on any platform. I think that that's a really tough thing that we run into. It's like, you want to grow your network, you want to grow, but I know this has been a surprise to some men that I've shared with, but as women growing up with technology, you're told, don't accept people you don't know. Don't talk to people who just message you that you've never met. And I do a little bit. I have talked about this on another podcast. I do a little bit still hold that true. Like on LinkedIn, if I have no mutuals with you and I've never met you anywhere, I'm not accepting. If I have like 4, I may text one of those people and be like, hey, who's this? Are they good? A lot of times that person will be like, oh, I just accept everybody. I don't know who that is. And so I won't accept that person either. And I look at it just because I am posting my whereabouts very frequently. I am sharing where I am, when I'm going to be certain places. And just for my own safety, I try to keep it a little bit tight. And I think that that's really not something that's really talked about in the space. So I definitely, anyone who's newer, especially young women, you don't have to accept anyone on anything that you don't want to. Even if I still feel guilt over it. Someone will send me a Facebook friend request and it's just like, I'm not posting anything bad, but I just don't need you in this aspect of my life. And I'm sorry.
It's okay, right? You're not trying to, win friends and influence all the people. It's okay to have your own private bubble of what.
Yeah. So I think that's a really big thing that I try to drive home to newer people. Just don't get caught up in the how many followers do you have of it all, because when you're saying the right thing to the right people, you don't need thousands and thousands of followers. I think that finding other people in the space that resonate with you, be it your likes, your interests, your career path, whatever, finding them is really important because they can speak for you in rooms that you're not in. And you could do the same, making those connections and relationships, but definitely leveraging the people and what they know. When I first began public speaking, I just started anyone I knew who had been on a stage. I was like, what can you tell me? What do you have to share with me? And I have made sure to go back and thank those people specifically and been like, I used this that you said, I did exactly what you did and it was perfect. Like, of course, there have also been like, I didn't really like that, and that didn't really work for me. It doesn't apply to this situation. But leveraging the incredibly smart and very friendly, helpful people in this space definitely is underutilized, I think, and very important.
I have a book that the twins gave me from the
I
twins
have that book.
Do you have this book?
I do.
Matt, do you have this book?
Nope. Let's hear it. What's the book?
Talk It Up, A Guide to Successful Public Speaking by David Suk Brown and Danny Suk Brown. And I saw them at Secure. They said, we have a few books. Which one do you want? I said, I want the public speaking one. And there's some really great information in here. So if you're looking to fine tune your public image, or if you're looking to get on a panel, by the way, all the women out there that are in the channel, submit an abstract to get on a panel or to get up there and speak, because we need more women out there that are doing that. And don't worry about messing it up. You'll do just fine. But this is a great book to give you kind of the skill sets that you need when you get up there in front of people.
Yeah, I took a public speaker training in December of 2022, and I have shared those notes that I took with anyone who's asked for it. So I also have, when I was in middle school, I tutored the ESL, English Second Language, students. So I got very good at taking notes. It did ruin my cursive though. They asked me, they were like, can you stop writing in cursive? These kids are learning English, please. Like, make it easier on them. So it did ruin my cursive because I had to start writing in print, but I do take very good notes if anyone needs. I got a couple pages. I can email them to you.
No, that's good. That's good feedback. Yeah. And it's just like social media. You got to get out there and you got to try it and then figure out what your craft is, what your speaking style is.
Yes.
Yes.
I definitely initially was trying just to exactly copy what I had seen. And I believe I can remember one specifically. I do think it was more than once though. Like I left the stage and I went in the bathroom and cried because I was like, that was just terrible. Not anymore. I feel much better about it now.
I think we're all like that. I've never walked off thinking that, it was good or everyone comes up and says afterwards, Matt, yeah, you were great. I don't know that I will ever believe that I did a good job until maybe I watch the video later.
I feel similarly. I feel like everyone's just telling me I did a good job because that's the nice thing to say. But
yeah,
I also can't bring myself to watch the videos. Anytime it's recorded, no, I'm not interested.
Really?
Yeah. But I do feel pretty good after most of them now.
It's so funny. I feel like that comes up a lot in a lot of the conversations I have too, where everybody says, I don't listen to my own content because I don't like listening to myself, or I feel like I sound differently. Like I have an annoying voice. Everybody else sounds normal. I can't remember who I was talking to about that, but yeah, it is kind of funny. The way I look at it is if you want to be the GOAT, if you want to be the Tom Brady of public speaking, I love to listen to everything that I do or watch what I do with my mannerisms because I want to, if there's something that I feel like is an annoying tick or I'm using too many filler words and I want to go back and challenge myself not to do that the next time. I'm sure you both have similar things where,
I agree with you, Vicky. You have to get over it and go and listen to your own videos, watch your own videos, listen to your own content, and it's the only way you'll get better.
Yeah, I mean, having my own YouTube channel in college, I had to go through those and edit. Obviously, the podcast now, I do go through and edit that. My old roommate made fun of me once. She came in and she goes, "You're listening to your own podcast right now?" And I said, "People come up and talk to me about this. I need to remember what we said." I definitely do. And I like to go back, especially with the podcast, and listen to early episodes so I can be like, oh, we said we were going to do this. Or like, oh, that, ignited such passion. Like, we need to make sure that we bring that part back. But for some reason, the stage ones, I mean, I will watch them. I just don't like it.
Well, so I have to ask you. So you've been in the channel for
4-ish years.
4 years. Okay. You're with INFIMA as the director for channel
development. Yeah.
Channel development.
Titles are silly.
Do you ever do visualization exercises of where you want to end up? I know this sounds kind of interesting, but Evolve actually talks a lot about this. IT Nation Evolve. And this is something, I don't know if, Matt, if you've gone through the LEAD program, but they do this like visualization exercise. And when you graduate from our leadership program, you write down like if you're looking back at 65 or whatever retirement age, 100 years old, whatever retirement age you want to be, what is your legacy that you're leaving behind?
So are you asking what that looks like for me right now?
Yeah. I mean, it may change a little bit. Like I read mine and I'm like, it's shifted a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, I feel like I already have a little bit left a legacy with the bracelets. I've been making bracelets for almost a year now, which is
I'm wearing mine.
I love that. That's so
Matt,
sweet.
do you have yours?
I don't have any, Kelcye. So next event, I'll be looking for you.
All right. Yeah. The next time I see you, I did make sure I knew where that box was when I moved. I have it out still because I'm like, I can't lose this one and all of my beads. Yeah, I mean, I would love to just, I don't know necessarily what my career legacy looks like, but I would love to just leave behind a trail of, the first word that comes to mind is positivity, and the second is sparkles. I don't think that that works very well, but I just want to have been helpful. And, I, being the eldest of 8, like, I always used to feel like I always had to set a really good example. And when we got older and my siblings are all adults making their own decisions, I felt a little bit of guilt, I guess, when they weren't doing the perfect thing. But I realized that I influenced other people in my life without realizing it. Working at the snow cone place, I managed high schoolers. And the number of them who still call me to this day whenever they're having, I failed this semester and I don't know how to tell my parents. Can you help me through it? Like, sure. Oh my God. I've even had a few, like, I'm pregnant. Like, how can you help me figure out how to tell my family? And, like, I have realized that I've impacted people that I didn't even intend to be impacting. So I think definitely continuing to be able to do that for people and to spread the wealth of knowledge that was given to me onward, for sure. Also, I really want to be comfortable enough in life that I can rescue cats. That's definitely a goal.
Nice.
Yes, I would love to be able to rescue kitties. So that's,
I love that.
I'll
Have like
formulate a concrete one for sure, but that's where I'm at on the spot.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
What about a cat ranch? Do you want to have a cat ranch when you
I
retire?
would absolutely love that. Yes. I need to become really good friends with the veterinarian so that way they can do, whatever medical work is needed. We can have just a really good system there. I've also thought about, what if I ran a laundromat and the money from the laundromat went to the cats? I don't know. I also think nail salons should go in oil change places. Get your nails done while you wait on your car. Why not?
See, there needs to be more of a female spin, is what you're saying. Yeah. Know your audience.
Definitely, yeah.
So Kelcye, I have to ask, outside of INFIMA and some of the great advice that you've given to people that are maybe just getting their start in the channel, what other things do you want to make our viewers aware of that you're working on or things that you're passionate about?
I thought about this before I started. I don't have anything super concrete right now to have as a kind of closing call to action, but I do think that finding ways to get involved is so beneficial personally and professionally that if I can leave you with that, find someone that you really mesh really well with, start your own podcast, find a hole or a gap wherever it is and find ways that you can fill it. If you find yourself complaining like, oh, they don't have this for XYZ, and I really would like to see that. Well, what can you do about starting that? What can you do about talking with them and helping organize the first, whatever that may be? I think that that's something we don't realize that we all have that power. Like, the people who start things like that are just people. Whatever it may be that you'd like to see, if you want to see more technology programs in your local schools, like, you have the power to contribute to that, to pitch that at your local town hall or whatever it is. You want to see more recent graduates involved in whatever it is that you're doing, like, you can help start an internship program. Like, I think that creating spaces where you see gaps is a way that we can all make ourselves and our communities better.
Bravo.
I'm very passionate about that, honestly. Don't sit around and complain. Okay, complain a little bit, but then what are the steps you can do to make the change?
Oh, that's a great answer. Normally we ask one more question. I think we should just leave it at that, Vicky. What do you think?
I think that's the answer to the question that we always ask, Kelcye, which is, what is a habit that you would recommend starting or stopping? And I feel like it's getting out there and, to your point, serving the need of the community, because it comes back And
hundredfold, yeah.
Right. And you never know what type of opportunities may come your way next based on if you explore it, if you're willing to explore it and then paying it forward. Those are great.
Thanks. I will say one habit that I've been doing the past couple of years, mindfulness, changes your life. Just be very present and very grateful. And I've started making my friends do it. I was at Epcot a few weeks ago. We were overlooking the water. I turned to my friend and I was like, what are you feeling right now? He was like, I don't know, it's pretty hot. I was like, okay, what are you looking at? And he was like, that turtle over there. And I was like, okay, good. And like, how's your brain? How's your heart? I love it. At the end of a workout class, workout session, whatever, like, be very conscious of your body that just pulled you through that. It showed up for you. It shows up for you every day. So I really like being mindful and just having an attitude of gratitude.
Ooh, that's a good one too. We're gonna put that one on a hat.
I like it. I could definitely put it on a bracelet today. So, or stickers.
Well, thanks for all of those insights, Kelcye. And I can say, I get a lot of these questions too, and I think that this is a great episode that I'm going to be pointing any young women to that come to me and say, "How do I get started? How do I grow?" Because I think that these are all pieces of advice that, no matter who you are, and it seems like it's common sense when you say it out loud, but it's actually the actioning of that. Which you've done great at. So thanks for joining us. Yeah,
I loved this. This was a great time. My face kind of hurts from smiling. So thank you both for that. I had a great time and I am really honored to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of IT Nation Wise Up. Kelcye, again, we appreciate you so much for joining us today. This is the podcast, folks, that helps you to drive your business forward. So make sure to subscribe today so you'll never miss an episode. And if you have topics that you'd love to hear more about, we want to hear from you. Reach out to us at itnationpodcast@connectwise.com. And until next time, folks, remember that every day is a chance to learn something new.